Hello everybody. Many people know what a Mentos is. Who doesn't know this is one of the most popular mint gums in the world? Mentos gained huge popularity due to the reaction with Coca-Cola. Yeah, okay, other bloggers had a much higher fountain. Write in the comments what I did wrong. We need to figure out what Mentos consists of. Upon careful examination, menthol inclusions are on the glaze layer. Now let's look inside. Here we have soft white gum. And it turns out that there's also mint syrup inside of it. Now everything is clear and you can start cooking a giant Mentos. Let's start with the forms. Pour some oil inside the hemispheres. And spread it out evenly with a brush. Unfold some parchment and cut a piece of the length of the mold. Every 4 centimeters, you need to make an incision. Now we cover the form. Thanks to the oil, the parchment sticks. Cover it so that there is not one single gap on the molds. Now let's start with these little blue inclusions. For this, we will cook some caramel. Pour some sugar into a saucepan and pour in a little bit of water. And in order to refresh our breath, we will need some crystals of pure menthol. They just have like this unrealistically powerful aroma. We set a small pinch into the saucepan, and we cook the caramel to 145 degrees. Now you can remove it. Let's repaint the menthol caramel in blue. We're going to use a square shape for filling, but first we will upgrade it with a sealing tape. With scissors, we cut it lengthwise. And put it on the mold. Done. Now the mold will be sealed. We apply it to the mold and pour in the blue caramel. And to speed up the solidification, we will use liquid nitrogen in a can. We will put on a tube so as not to freeze our fingers. And we spray nitrogen directly out of the hot caramel. The spray temperature is negative 195 degrees, so the caramel freezes almost instantly. And our first round is done. You can bend the shape a little bit to make them more random. And again, pour in some caramel. As a result, we make a lot of little inclusions. So let's turn to the white glaze. Pour some sugar in. Corn syrup. And water into a saucepan. That's it, and then we're going to put it on the stove. And we're going to cook this in 4 pots at once. We cook the caramel for 10 minutes until it reaches 137 degrees. Quickly remove from the stove and color it white. Pour this into the mold and try to make sure that the thickness of the glaze is the same on all sides. Most of it still flows down, so we smear it around with a spatula. It took us 3 hours to fill the glaze. Now we'll turn to the gooey layer. Pour 3 liters of water into a large saucepan. We will also need 900 grams of gelatin. Gradually pour it in while stirring with a whisk. That way it swells evenly. When the mass has already become like a puree, it is ready. Next, you will need 5 kilograms of coconut oil. We open up a plastic canister. And dump the oil into the pan. Now you just gotta pour 1.6 kilograms of cornstarch in. And mix this mass with a huge mixer. This is only part of the filling, and we'll need it later. And now we need a 30 kilowatt Megaflow gas burner. We can connect a gas cylinder to it. We install a hefty saucepan on top and pour 10 liters of corn syrup into it. Now we pour 40 kilograms of sugar on top. And 8 liters of water. That's it, cover with the lid. And turn on the burner to maximum. After about 10 minutes, the caramel is boiled. It is very important for us to monitor the temperature here. This caramel was cooked for another 30 minutes. And when it reaches 135 degrees, it needs to be poured into the second pan with a mixture that we prepared in advance. And mix everything together with a mixer. It's time to solve the problem of rapid cooling this mass. We want to do it with dry ice. In fact, it is frozen carbon dioxide and its temperature is negative 78 degrees. That is, it is 4 times colder than ordinary ice from the freezer. Pour half the dry ice into a large saucepan. And then the pan with the hot mass on top. At the junction, hot ice evaporates very quickly and squeaks funny. The second half of the dry ice is filled between the walls so that the cooling is more effective. The pan has already managed to be covered with frost. We begin to mix the mass for its uniform cooling. Half an hour later, the mass noticeably lightened and even increased a little in volume. This is due to the fact that we have driven a lot of air bubbles into it. After another hour of mixing, the mass has almost cooled down and is already stretching like gum. But we need an even wider color, so we'll add a powder dye and mix it in. Just like that. As a result, an almost white chewing mass is obtained. Pour this into the molds. and we'll send them into the freezer. Exactly into the middle, you need to squeeze out the recesses with the help of bowls. And leave that to freeze for a whole day. Now it's time to make the mint syrup. The menthol crystals that we used earlier have a very strong cooling aroma, but it is the taste of mint that they do not have. Therefore, we will make the flavor ourselves. We shove a piece of gauze into the extractor as a filter, and fill it almost to the top with dried mint. On top, we throw another wad of gauze. Pour 2 bottles of alcohol into the flask. Then we throw in 2 little pieces as boiling water. We install the extractor on the stove and fix it on a tripod so that it doesn't fall. On top, we have another flask called a refrigerator, and we also fix that. From below to the refrigerator, we attach a tube. Put the second end on the adapter and pull that right onto the faucet. There is an exit from the top of the refrigerator. A tube is also needed to it. The second end is thrown into the sink, and we turn on cold water. The refrigerator is filled with water and flows out through the upper tube. This way the water circulates and it stays cold all the time. You can turn on the stove. The alcohol is boiled, but how will it turn into a flavoring agent? So, upon reaching 70 degrees, the alcohol evaporates and the vapors rise up into the tube. As soon as it reaches the refrigerator, it condenses and flows into our mint in the form of drops. Thus, the extractor is constantly filled, and the alcohol, having gained a mint flavor, flows back into the lower flask. After 5 hours of extraction, I think we have squeezed the maximum out of the mint. We evaporate the liquid in the flask to make it more concentrated and get rid of the alcohol vapors. And we're left with an unrealistically powerful flavor. We're going to color it blue. And pour it through a sieve into a decanter. Now we'll pour in corn syrup. And just mix it up. That's it, the mint filling that will get the taste of our giant Mentos is ready. The chewing mass is already frozen, so we take out the bowls. And fill out the depressions with our mint syrup. We leave this to freeze overnight. Already in the morning, the syrup is hardened and you can get the molds out of the freezer. Immediately remove the sticking white glaze. And we take out the halves of the huge Mentos from the molds. Now we tear up the stuck parchment. We trim the edges a little bit more. Finally, you can connect them. Not bad, but the joint is ugly. So we'll make some more white glaze and go through it at the seam. Just as you see right now. That's it, the giant Mentos weighing in at 70 kilograms is finally ready. It took 4 days to prepare, and in my opinion, it is very similar to its little original. Now let's try our giant Mentos. Hello everybody, a Kinder Surprise is probably the most desirable sweet for any children that you can buy in the supermarket. Although I don't think that any adults would turn it down either. So let's open up the Kinder. In fact, it's just an egg made with chocolate. Rather, of two types, milk and white. And inside it has a yellow capsule that you can find a toy in when you open it. Maybe it just seems like it to me, but these toys were much more interesting in my childhood. Over the past 6 months, I've been thinking in detail about how to make a giant Kinder Surprise so that it turns out to be perfect, just like a factory-made one. And finally, I came up with it. Please give this video your likes in advance, and now let's start. Have you ever wondered how chocolate was made? There are whole plantations where cocoa fruits are grown. We bought 4 of these ripe fruits. They are very large and cumbersome. We break it into 2 parts, and we see the white seeds inside. These are ripe cocoa beans, but to turn them into chocolate, they need to be processed for a long time. We transfer them to a wooden barrel, and we cover them with saran wrap. The beans will be in this barrel for 7 days and fermented. Well, it's time to retrieve them. Excellent. Our cocoa beans have been fermented and smell pleasantly like vinegar. We take a dryer like this and put all our beans in it. We set it to 40 degrees and turn it on. That way they continue drying for another 7 days. A week has passed and the cocoa beans are dehydrated. But to make a giant Kinder, this is definitely not enough. So I bought some more dry cocoa beans. They look exactly like ours. These beans are raw, so we go outside and pour 2 bags of beans into the cauldron. We still need to chop wood. Let's open the stove and put some crumpled paper and small firewood into it. Kindle the fire. When it is flared up, we begin to mix the cocoa beans. That way they fry more evenly. After about 10 minutes of roasting, they begin to smell very tasty. There for about 5 more minutes and you can check. The husks should easily come off the roasted cocoa beans. We remove them from the fire. The roasting stage has been passed. Now we take another bowl. We remove the shell from each cocoa bean. We break the core and transfer to the second bowl. We get these kind of cocoa nibs. We use this as the main raw material for making milk chocolate. We also bought a box like this. We open it, and inside we see a lot of cocoa butter. It looks and feels like an all-in-one laundry soap. So that it can be quickly melted later, we set it up with a knife. This is a very sticky process. Two hours later, we got a whole basin of finely crushed cocoa butter. In order to properly make chocolate, you need a machine called a mélanger. In fact, this is an electric mill with such stone millstones. We grind cocoa nibs, milk powder, sugar, and cocoa butter into it. We collect a kilogram of cocoa nibs and pour it into the mélanger. A full glass of powdered milk, a glass of sugar, and turn it on. All the ingredients are mixed and gradually ground into a more delicate powder. Add some cocoa butter. It will gradually warm up from friction and the mass will become. And now it just takes time. The grains will become smaller and smaller. In the meantime, let's turn on another machine called Marmite. It will heat the chocolate so that it remains a liquid. Fill it with water up to the maximum. We set it on 2 and turn it on. 2 hours have passed. The chocolate has become even thinner. To make it taste familiar to us, we add vanilla extract. And in factory chocolate, a powder called soy lecithin is used. We need to add quite a lot of it. It is completely harmless, and it is only made to use to make the chocolate more liquidy. The chocolate has been 3 hours in the melange. We turn it off, and we pour it into the gastric capacity. The first portion of natural milk chocolate is ready. We put the tray into the Marmite so that the chocolate doesn't freeze. Now we load the next batch. This time, for the melange to grind the cocoa nibs faster, we pour it in gradually. Then gradually pour in cocoa butter. When the mass has become a liquid, gradually add sugar, milk powder, and other additives. We wait another 2.5 hours and pour the chocolate into our tray. And for the third time, we add more powdered milk and 4 hours of stirring. It turned out very nice, perfectly glossy milk chocolate. We also transfuse it. It took us 2 days to fill the tray to the brim. We mix all of these things together, and we're done. The next stage is tempering. You may ask, why is this necessary? I'll show you an example of 2 tiles. We filled one with melted chocolate, and the second with tempered. After solidification, we take them out. And the one that is just melted melts very quickly, remaining in your hands. But the tempered chocolate is glossy. To it, cocoa butter crystals are combined into a strong crystal lattice. Therefore, when you break it, there's a crunch. In order to temper a large volume of chocolate, we increase the heating. And constantly stirring, we heat the chocolate to 45 degrees. We get the tray out, and let's go outside. We put it onto a cold tile. Constantly stirring. Literally in 15 minutes, the chocolate should cool down to exactly 25 degrees. That's it. We return the chocolate back to the heat and heat it up to 31 degrees. This is the end of tempering. We will pour chocolate into such large egg halves. I ordered these forms 6 months ago at a factory in America, and now they have arrived. These forms cost 20,000 hryvnias, or 54,000 rubles. So, we open the alcohol, pour it into the mold, and rub it around with a napkin. So that way it'll be perfectly clean and the chocolate will shine. Done. Now we send the forms to the freezer for 1 hour. They should be cool completely. Now that the molds are icy, we scoop up the chocolate, pour it into the mold, and distribute evenly. The chocolate seizes instantly. Fill it as evenly as possible so that there are even walls of the same thickness everywhere. We drain the excess chocolate back in. One more time, we put it into the freezer. And we fill in the forms again. And one more go around. The forms are always very heavy and you can't twist them in your hands. Therefore, we pour the chocolate along the walls and smear it around with a spatula. That way we filled up all the milk chocolate. But there is also a white one in Kinder, so let's do that. We need cocoa butter, milk powder, sugar, and soy lecithin. And of course a melanger. We collect a full measuring cup of cocoa butter. We turn on the melanger and begin to pour in very gradually. There is literally a third of a teaspoon of soy lecithin. We collect 700 grams of sugar and gradually pour it in. Well, we've got a full measuring cup of powdered milk. And now it just takes time. Grains of powdered milk and sugar will decrease and interfere with the butter. The correct consistency will be happening in 2 hours later. Pour our homemade white chocolate into the Marmite. We cooked white chocolate for 15 hours. And we also temper it. And we also pour that into the mold the same way. It's smeared around with a spatula. We poured white chocolate in one very long approach. While you were smearing one form, the second one is time to freeze, so you can change them around like that. Now the chocolate egg halves are ready. Let's make an integral part of the Kinder Surprise, namely the yellow capsule. To do this, we bought a plastic barrel for 20 liters. We bend the fastenings for the handle and remove them. The barrel is shaped like a capsule, but not in color. Therefore, we unscrew from the lid and take it to a safe place for painting. Shake the cans with spray paint and cover the barrel with yellow. We completely painted it in 3 approaches. Now we've got a big yellow capsule like that. In my opinion, it kind of looks like the original. What kind of gift will we put inside? I thought everything out in advance and I bought a big Bluetooth speaker on the internet. We opened it up and put it inside, as well as wires and instructions. That's it, you can close it. We put our surprise in one of the Kinder halves. We take out the second one. Perfect. At first, we just melted the edge of the chocolate with a burner and tried to install the second half of the egg on top. But they did not dock, and there were very large gaps. Therefore, we take out the other half. With a knife, we cut off the uneven edge. And try it again. This way it worked out more or less pretty smooth. And to glue these two halves together, we pass the white chocolate along the joint. Now our Kinder is ready. But what kind of Kinder would it be without colorful packaging? To make that, we take the molds again and line the foil on top of them, gluing each layer with double-sided tape. Next, you need acrylic paints, rollers, brushes, and pencils. First, you need to make a red and white background. And then we apply multicolored inscriptions. In my opinion, it turned out really nice. So we put the lower part of the wrapper on the floor. Carefully lower our Kinder into it. And together with the foil, we lift it back up. We put the other half of the package on top. We connect the planes and fix it with a stapler. With scissors, cut off the excess foil. and gently bend the edge. Now we just have to paint the gaps. And this giant Kinder Surprise is completely ready. It turns out very nice and beautiful. This time we repeated it almost one-on-one. Taking into account the forms, the machine for making chocolate and products, it cost us 50,000 hryvnias. This is 136,000 rubles, and it took us 5 days to prepare it. So answer me one question. Who will experience the most joy when they see this huge Kinder? Of course it is children. Therefore, we mask it with a golden cloth, load it into the car, and take it to the mother and child's house. The children were very happy and just tore up at this Kinder Surprise.